So shout out to everybody that's up in this space. I know y'all for a lot of y'all that was in the actual space on Saturday. What was it, Saturday? With Dr. Claude Anderson. That was a pretty good space. So, if you didn't catch it, definitely go ahead and catch it. I think something like 6,000 people tuned in and actually caught it. Not all at one time, but since then you've had something like 6,000 listeners. And, Dr. Claude Anderson was doing this thing as always. And shout out to Dr. Claude. I believe he just turned 88. So the brothers put in a lot of work over the time. And, for the most part, people were satisfied. Dr. Claude pretty much says what he always says about, pulling together group economics and things of that nature. I was in and out the space. I heard a good part of it, but I wasn't in it the whole time. And he pretty much his message is still pretty much strong as well too. He wants to see black people, especially what he called native black people in this country, to do for themselves. And unfortunately, you got a lot of people that got pissed off with that space. A lot of people are upset with Dr. Claude Anderson for Dr. Claude Anderson simply saying that he wants to see black people, black Americans, who've always been at the bottom of the barrel in this country. He wants to see them go ahead, and elevate themselves. And I feel like a lot of people felt like, hey, he didn't include other black groups as well. So, there are a lot of people, they made some nasty spaces, said some nasty remarks. I heard a lot of F bombs directed towards him, and people asking what has he accomplished, what has Dr. Claude Anderson done in his lifetime, and this and that or whatever. So, a lot of people took offense to that space. A lot of people got upset, and I guess it wasn't shout out Extreme X. For my people over there in the YouTube world, make sure you guys go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment on tonight's broadcast. Once again, like, share, subscribe on tonight's broadcast. Like I told everybody coming up in here, we're going to discuss Dr. Claude Anderson, and we're also going to talk about the situation. I know you guys seen the photo with Keian Woods' face just beaten to a bloody pulp here in Jacksonville, Florida. So we want to discuss that tonight as well. 24-year-old brother, the actual sheriff over there in Jacksonville, black man. He's been talking kind of crazy for the most part. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the elder, Dr. Claude Anderson, why you had so many of these rooms going on, and people got their feelings, hurt or whatever. I didn't hear him say anything negative towards anybody else. And I guess the comment with Dr. Claude Anderson said, you know what, don't put I guess people got offended when he said don't put African in front of American or black or whatever. And people, I guess they felt a certain way about that. They felt that, hey, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't feel this way. And I just, some of the comments that we were reading, man, it was just ridiculous. Like, yo, first off, he's 88 years of age. Secondly, he has a right to his opinion. Thirdly, he's put a lot of time into the actual into this movement, so he has a right to go ahead and voice how he feels exactly about it. Also, the man has seen. I mean, the man has been around. For 88 years, he's seen this country, just a change in everything that's going on, from being in segregation to where you're at now. He's seen how the country's changed, so he has a right to his opinion. He's seen everything, and one thing that's remained the same, and he talks about it all the time, is that the actual black wealth in this country, the black wealth in this country, is that is not much different than what it was in slavery. So he talks about all this stuff. He talks about how black businesses, how we lost black businesses and everything else. He talks about immigration, and I'm sure that offends and that upsets some people as well too. So I didn't see anything that he said that should piss anybody off, but apparently people got pissed off. People started making space after space. People want to know what gave him the right to say anything. People checking his qualifications. People forgetting that this man worked in education. This man was on the was with President Carter and everything else. That he has the qualifications, he has the skill, he has education, he has the experience. That he can say a number of things that most people sitting up here in these spaces, and all these people that sitting up here talking about all the work they do, this and that or whatever, can't hold a candle to this man. And a lot of people are upset and they're mad because he didn't. I guess it wasn't a kumbaya moment. It wasn't, we all should just sit around and hold hands and stuff. He's seen what the holding hand things can do. One thing that I thought he said that made perfect sense, that you never hear any black person say, instead of it calling it civil rights back when they had it in the 50s and 60s, it should have been called black rights. And he's right about that. Whenever you're addressing somebody, when you're talking about LGBTQ rights, when you're talking about women's rights, when you're talking about Asian rights, when you're talking about this right, that right, they flat out say it. But when it comes to black people, it's civil rights and it's minorities and it's this and that or whatever. That was a big detriment. That has hurt black people because now you can't distinguish yourself like other groups can. They should have said black rights from Jump Street. That would have pissed people off back then, but oh well, now everybody's able to leech up off of it. So he was dead right on that. And people are pissed off, they upset. If any of you guys, I know some of you guys may have been in some of these spaces. I know that you also had an issue with some of our people, and the man is a powerful speaker, even at the age he's at now. And a lot of people, certain things they took. Everybody takes things different out of the conversation and stuff like that. I know he was saying that, you had black people here, from the beginning. Black people were here from the beginning of the time that this country was founded, before the country was founded. When you had the continental USA, you had black people there. When it became officially the United States of America, you had black people there. So what he was saying is that, hey, we were here before 99% of the people were here. And that's true. You were here before all of the people that came and talked about that this country was a nation built by immigrants and everything else. You were here before these people were. When there's relatively no Asians in this country, when there's relatively no Latinos or Hispanics, when most of the Europeans had not even gotten here yet, you were here, So that's what he was saying. I know you had some people saying, well, I guess it was also, people kind of was getting back and forth in the comments about indigenous and native black and this and that, it's however you look at it. I'm a firm believer that I believe black people are all throughout this world. What's the amount of black people that was over here? I have no idea, but I believe if you actually believe this whole outer Africa theory, I believe that black people, if they left Africa 100,000 years ago, that these black people that left, they didn't all just turn white, red, or yellow. Some of them retained their actual color and they went throughout the world or whatever. But I do believe, that there was a migration, and that migration, and I never heard him not deny that, he talked about African slaves. He talked about this, he talked about that. So I don't really know the disconnect that so many people have with what Dr. Claud Anderson said. Like I said, the vast majority of people that came now, I think they got knowledge. I think they got understanding. If you heard him speak before, he was still as sharp as a thumbtack. He still was himself. But then, like I say, I guess you had a certain number of people that came there simply to go ahead and hear what he had to say so they could tear the message down as well, too. Because like I say, I've seen quite a few nasty messages and stuff about Dr. Claud. I ignored it. I didn't respond to it or whatever because it is what it is. Not everybody's going to see the same thing and accept it and be cool with it. So, it pretty much is what it is. I look at this man as being, a legend, a living legend, somebody that really does care about black people. He puts his money where his mouth is. He goes out there, and it's not his fault that he's been saying the same thing for 40, 50, 60 years, and we haven't implemented it as a people. I know people say, well, he's been saying this and he's got the books and why. Hey, he said it. It's up to everybody else to actually go out there and actually do it. He can't make you do it. Like they said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So it's up to everybody else that actually heard these actual steps and how you go about doing it and everything else. So it just, people took from the message what they wanted to take. If you went to the message closed-minded, if you went to the space closed-minded, if you already had an opinion about Dr. Claud Anderson, if you felt that, hey, because he was one of the ones, and I guess people also don't like the message that he was making. He was pretty much saying delineation. He was talking about it. He was talking about, hey, you were this and you were that as Black Americans and stuff like that. He wants you to stand out as a Black American. And some people, they have an issue with that. Some people are upset with it. So that's the conversation tonight, guys. And like I said, we're going to be talking about Keian Woods. If you guys have not seen that video, check that video out. I have the actual article up in the Jumbotron as well, too. This brother's face was beaten like ground beef. His face is all swollen. Couldn't see, eyes swollen shut, head being banged. Once again, another defenseless Black man and just getting the life kicked out of him. So we're discussing that tonight. DJ, what's going on? Can you hear me straight still?
Yeah, you good. Shout out to Newstoter. Everybody share the room. Make sure y'all follow Newstoter on social, soxcil.com. There you go.
Now I know you wasn't in the space to catch it, but I know you did catch some of it. You know, the parts that you heard. What was your opinion about it? And I know you did send me. Did you send me a couple of posts that people had? You know, they was wilding out on. What was your opinion about that?
The liquor store, man.
But that post you sent me, that I don't think that had anything to do about the Claude Anderson thing, though, did it?
Oh yeah, that's what it was about.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Shout out to the homie and shit. You know what I'm saying? Rough. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, because yeah, I just I know they was going at it, but I didn't know that's where it actually originated from the actual Dr. Claude Anderson actual space as well too. So like I say, Dr. Claude is pushing 90 years of age, man. It's not his job to hold black people's hands. And one day this brother, is gonna be gone. I mean, he's almost 90 years of age. It's up to everybody else that he's left his books, you got all kind of lectures, you got all kind of YouTube videos of him and everything else. It's up to everybody else to go ahead and take what he said and run with it. He can't make you, nor should he. His work is almost done. Let anybody that's really hungry, let them go up there and get it. Let them go ahead and do it. If you're really about that, go ahead, you do it. He's already done enough, in my opinion. And the fact that he came on here and he did his thing, he said his thing or whatever, his message hadn't changed at all. So, it's up to everybody else to go ahead and take the baton and run with it. Sean, what's going on tonight? How you doing?
I had to come up and speak my piece on the topic. Thanks for allowing me. Mike, I agree with you 110% about what you said. The Honorable Dr. Claude Anderson has done enough. You lazy bastards. It's your turn. Pick up the baton and get to running, punks. I have no tolerance for people. So, okay, you can have your opinion. You can say, okay, this and that, but outright blatant disrespect deserves a real response, and there will be one sooner rather than later, hopefully. And you guys are joking about Rockwaller. I'm rocking with Rockwaller, man. You need to back up. I'm with him. I don't tolerate that type of disrespect. It needs to be answered. I know people get uneasy about these conversations because of legal reasons, but hey, I come from the streets, so I'm gonna give it a hot damn. Disrespect somebody like that is like disrespecting my grandfather. That's how tight I am about that. It's very disrespectful. This man spent the better part of his life advocating for black people. At the very least, he advocated. You don't turn around and do some dirtbag shit like that because you don't disagree because you disagree with a few of his talking points. Yeah, it has to be up to smoke for that. It has to be a consequence for that type of behavior. And yeah, I've been trying to throw these hints out there, but nobody's getting it. I do wellness checks. Give me the information. I would love to do a wellness check. Thank you. I'll end.
Thank you, Sean. And Sean, I agree with you on this point right here. Like, if somebody wants to disagree, nobody has an issue with you disagreeing and this and that or whatever. Go ahead and disagree with somebody. You don't have to agree with 100% what anybody says. If you don't like certain talking points that they have, go ahead and articulate what you disagree with, what you don't like or whatever. At the same time, like you said, just a disrespectful, dropping F-bombs and calling people this and that or whatever. That's going too far. Like I say, for one, he is an elder. For two, the man has skin in the game. For three, he said things that most black people in politics have stayed away from. The black entertainment class, they stay away from it. The black, the athletes, they stay away from it. A lot of even some of the black business owners and stuff, they stay away from stuff like he says as well too. So to sit up here and just to go in on him personally, like I say, if you have an issue with what he says in terms of how things are structured or his talking points or whatever, go in there and refute it. Nobody's going to get upset about that. People may not agree with you, but you can respectfully disagree with somebody, but to sit up here and to call this man out after everything that he's done, everything he's tried to do, like I said, you don't have to agree with 100%. That nobody on earth agrees with 100% anybody says. That's just how it is. Some things you may agree with, some things you don't. Fine, state what you don't disagree with. And I would say there's some people that actually was in the comment section that disagree with what he said. They were respectful in it. They disagreed with it and they left it at that. It was some other people that actually, took the pop shots, took shots at him, got personal, things that I really thought, hey, what was unnecessary personally. I didn't think that was really necessary. Like I said, you can go ahead and you can disagree with somebody respectfully, especially somebody that's old enough, and most people in this space old enough to be your grandfather. You know, Dr. Claude, he's not a spring chicken. The brother's pushing 90 years of age. He's old enough to be your grandparents. And I would think that even if you disagree with your grandparents to a certain degree, you would still be respectful in how you spoke to, as long as they're being respectful to you. And, you know, you would go ahead and you like, okay, you would give that person some grace, some leeway. But, you know, some of the comments and some of the things that I think that we've gotten so wrapped up in ideologies and stuff like that, that, you know, people simply, you know, it's more about ideologies and everything else and anything else. So I see my sister Trouble is up here. What's up, Trouble?
Hey, Newstoter, how you doing, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Shout out to you, DJ, the whole group. Thank you for allowing me to the stage. Just real quick, I wanted to say that we all are not going to revere the same people, but as you pointed out, it's a certain amount of respect that needs to come into the conversation, and we do ourselves a disservice every time someone comes to speak, be it an elder or someone who's of the new generation. To always have something negative, nasty, and again dropping the F-bombs, and this person ain't shit, and they ain't did nothing, and what have they done to move Black people forward? Because when you're asking what the next person has done to move Black people forward, turn around and ask yourself that question before you let the words seep up out your mouth. Because what is it that you have done? Who is calling your name? Who is talking about you? Who is reading any books that you've read? Who is discussing that? You know, what mark have you made in this world? What mark have you made in your own damn household? Have you been in a positive influence there? What about your community? To me, it seems like, and I have to run that space back, but I was in it here and there, but a lot of it stems from, we seeped into a conversation that was deaded over 6 months ago to a year. And it brought back the whole argument once again of, well, what are we going to call ourselves? Instead of people finally getting it inside their mind, call yourself what the fuck you want to be called. Sorry, I'm trying to not cuss so much, but...
You got it.
But call yourself whatever it is that you want to call yourself. And since that conversation has been drugged back up from the pits of hell, and folks started on that again. I'm seeing conversations now. Well, Dr. Claud Anderson said, you know this, and why come he didn't, refer to us as that, and he didn't say anything about this particular group of people, and he should have mentioned A, B, and C, and since he didn't, well, I don't like, and I don't, what is it, and it's silly shit. And it's always that silliness. It's like, what y'all, I don't know what y'all smoking, but I don't want none of that shit. I don't want to be
betting up.
I don't want to catch the secondhand smoke from it, because it's dangerous. It's potent and pollutant, and it's like that's being dragged back up. And also I've heard people who were upset with the fact that they weren't brought to the stage. So once again, just like the spaces that you held the other week with He Who Shall Not Be Named, but people wanna run the show, and if they are not the one who is running the show, they always got a problem with how the show is being ran. And it's like, why come you didn't think to get this person to come into your space? So if they didn't come into your space, you weren't the one who got to ask the questions. You wasn't the one who got the glory of putting on this space. You got a problem with it. People wanted to know, well, how come I couldn't come to the stage? Oh, they wouldn't let me up on the stage because they already knew, like, you that special. You really felt like you was that special, where maybe folks felt like you was gonna be ignorant, or maybe you should have been in the spaces that they held the week before, where they held several pre-spaces to Dr. Claud Anderson coming into their space to let people know, hey, if you want to ask questions, if you have a question, post it here. send me a DM with your questions because we're not letting everybody up on stage. We want these questions beforehand, but nobody attended the spaces that happened beforehand to see how it was that they were going to run their space. But now everybody got a problem with how the space was ran. And it's always these wayward niggas. Like, where y'all niggas come from? Who raised y'all? Like, who made y'all if people think that they are the embodiments of the reparations movement, like nothing in this movement or none of these conversations are supposed to happen unless everybody else get permission from them. And I don't know who made you Lord, King, and Savior of this movement or of the Black collective, but I wholeheartedly reject that shit, and I reject you and your man. You know, and it's getting to be super damn ridiculous where you have an elder who is going through his health problems, who took time out of his day to come on and speak his mind, speak his piece, speak his thought process, give his opinion, and you mad at his opinion. Well, you need to get your scholarship together. You need to get your pen and your paper and your typewriter and your computer, and you need to get all of that together, and you need to come up with some sources and make some things happen on your own accord so that maybe people can look at you and revere you in the same way that they revere this man that you're sitting back hating on. Because a lot of people really didn't have any real reason to be hating on them other than the fact that they want their voices to be the forefront and the center of it. It's a lot of young folks that don't think that the elder has anything to contribute because what did y'all do in the 60s? What did y'all do in the 70s? If it wasn't for what they did in the 60s and the 70s now, you wouldn't have shit to complain about. You wouldn't have a blueprint of what not to damn do. At least if you don't know what to do, you know exactly what not to damn do. So, I mean, I'm going to land on that, but it's really irritating. And I'm gonna land on that. Y'all some irritating ass mugs.
Hey, I'm 100% with you on that, Trouble, as well too. Like you say, like the man, he's up in age and his health hasn't been the greatest yet. He still came up here, you know, to go ahead and to conversate with people. And let's not also forget, this man's been talking about reparations before most of the people on this damn app was even born. And they're gonna teach him. They're gonna tell him what time it is, what's up. He's been talking about this. This man's had black people at the center of his thought before these people were even thought of, before some of their parents was damn teenagers, before some of their parents was even born. And they're going to sit up here and they're going to school him and they're going to tell him about what time it is and what he needs to do and what he didn't do and this and that or whatever. Man, if you don't get on out of here with that nonsense. See, Mel is up here. Mel, how you doing tonight?
Hey, what's good, Newstoter? DJ. Hey, DJ, won't you play that song? Shout out to everybody in the room. Trouble, you put it all the way down, girl. You gonna say the thing. You know, I'm feeling some type of way, to be honest with you, about the aftermath of having Claud Anderson in that major space. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I never thought in my lifetime that I would ever hear or even have an opportunity to go into a venue where Dr. Claud Anderson was available to hear him, let alone ask a question of him. So to me, I'm grateful that even was available. And I think that, I guess I'm a little beside myself because there was a space that I saw when I got off of work yesterday. I saw this space asking, what's up with, who the fuck is Dr. and who does he think he is? Something. And the title of the room threw me all the way off. I'm like, what? Is this a real question? I did not think that it was even troll associated. I wanted to know so much, like, how did y'all listen to someone like Dr. Claud Anderson, and this is the title of the room? Is this a genuine question? And so when I went in that room, I do appreciate the fact that I had an opportunity to, not just myself, but a couple other people, I had an opportunity to really say what Claud Anderson has done. And it appeared that the people listened. Did they buy into it? I don't think so. Because it come to find out later, they really just wanted to do what I think is that 50 Cent shit. Call everybody out, talk all the shit you can, and get whatever attention you can from whom, and see where that takes you. But I feel like, and I woke up this morning and then somebody did a screenshot of the room, and the screenshot happened to be when I was on stage, either speaking or waiting to be speaking, and they didn't do his voice record, but the text, the message, the tweet said, "Oh, all these motherfuckers ain't shit." Words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. They just. And I'm like, you know what? That's fucked up. Because some of us appreciate. I'm gonna take Trouble's word. The scholarship of Dr. Claud Anderson, that to see a title like that would make one who's aware of his works and his word go into the room and say, "What? Wait a minute, y'all, what?" And so to me, for people who support Claud Anderson to just come right out and make a blanket ass statement where the title was so fucked up, even I didn't go in the room. It's like that just, but I would say this. His work, Claud Anderson's work, is not something you're just going to read, while driving and think you're going to absorb it all and understand it all. His work, you're going to have to read it 2, 3, 4 times. Maybe have a discussion with somebody who knows a little bit better if you really want to grasp what he's talking about. To me, he's not really that easy kind of a read, especially if he's bringing up things that, you haven't discussed, you don't know nothing about, if he's introducing you to new things. So I think that might be some of the reason why some of the people didn't understand Dr. Claud Anderson, and I think it's a level of immaturity on their part to not ask questions for better understanding, for clarity. Instead, they didn't understand. Instead of admitting that, they just try to talk cash shit about it. So I'm gonna land my plane there. Oh, but one other thing, I did ask them something about the main space, and they were like, I said, "Well, could somebody else have done the space better?" The guy said, "Yeah, Newstoter could." I said, "Ooh." I said, "You know what? I agree with that." Why did the dude say, "I'm just playing, I don't mean that, blah, blah"? I'm like, what? So it just was a whole, I feel like Newstoter, if Claud Anderson had the opportunity to come into a space that you were running, I think it would be an excellent space. And maybe what they need is more Claud Anderson, more exposure to Dr. Claud Anderson, and people will get with the program. Okay, I'm gonna land right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel. I think you had some people that, like I said before, I think you had some people that got upset because they felt Dr. Claud Anderson and their mindset separated, and he, because he's focusing on Black Americans. I think that's what it is. I think you had some people in there that say, "Hey, we all Black, we all should be the center of this right here." But Dr. Claud Anderson thing is this: that hey, I'm from the lineage of a group of people who have been treated like crap from the time they've been in this country, from the time this country was a country. They've been at the bottom of the barrel while other people have come over here and, and have been put in over them. So, I'm focusing on Black people. And I think that's what a lot of the issues were right there, that people won't just come out and say it, but a lot of people are upset because, hey, he went ahead and he's talking about what Black Americans can do for Black Americans. And I think that you got a lot of people that got upset about that. And they feel that, hey, I guess they feel that when he's talking about, to a certain degree delineating and he's saying that, hey, you're separate. He's talking about the exceptionalism in Black American and stuff like that. I think that bothered a lot of people. And, a lot of people not going to say it. Some have said it, but I think that's the main issue with it. I think if Dr. Claud Anderson has said that about everybody that's Black and that's over here, I think that space you wouldn't have had many people. Of course, you can always have somebody complain, but I think you would have had you'd have had more people that were like, okay, well, I like this, I like what I heard, and this and that or whatever. But the fact that he's talking about the actual resources, and he's talking about things for actually Black Americans, the people that actually built the country and who've been screwed over 1 million times by this country. I think that really upset a lot of people, and I mean that's just my personal opinion about it. But thank you, Mel. He am I? Go ahead and unmute your mic.
So all I wanted to say, welcome to everybody. I heard Dr. Claud Anderson when I was very young. Well, not very young. I was in my 20s. And actually, he was working with a pastor, Dr. Reverend Price, who had a large congregation, and they were on television. He actually, if you go to YouTube, that's that congregation. That's that congregation when he was talking like that. And the company or whoever they were, the white folks, whoever, they actually killed the programming for that when he did that. So what you're dealing with is opposition, Newstoter. So this is what we can expect. because he was actually quite correct. He didn't bite his tongue, and he said everybody. When he said immigration, he meant everybody, not just some. All of it will affect us. And I've been following Brother Claud for a very long time, and I will continue to follow him. I've gotten his books, read his books, studied his books. At the time when I got the books, a lot of our people just wasn't on what he was talking about. So when he was talking about that, you got 10 years, I was in that group. Like, we got 10 years. Now I'm here, and I'm glad that folks have finally caught up. It's no different than the Hebrews, the Negro thing, when everybody was up in arms. And I'm like, hey, you know that book is 11 years old. Why are y'all jumping on Kyrie? That book is 11 years old. We can't get emotional. We're in a fight. We're in a political fight, and it's a fight for our lives. It's a fight for our children's lives. And we got to be prepared. It's political. Just like the brother said, Sean B., they've been doing this. They pissed off right now because the word is getting out and the people are listening because we see what's going on. You can't deny what Brother Claud Anderson said because it's already true. You can go to New York. You can go to California, where I am, where I saw it in real time and still see it in real time. So that BS they talking, give them the work right back. Give them the work right back. Read that brother's book. Look at it. Understand it. And then look at it and say, is this going on now? Has this been going on? I can tell you, hell yeah, I'm 53 years old. I know it's going on. Been going on. And they're going to continue for it to go on. The only problem that they're having is it was supposed to be a secret. We were supposed to be the proverbial frog in the hot water bucket. Cook slow and not see it coming. Well, we see it coming, and now we yelling, and now we hear, and now we are aware of what's going on, and we ready to fight. I'll land.
All right. Thank you, he am I. Ray, I know you had your hand up. Did you want to say something, or you put it down?
Yeah, I'm gonna let the other brother go ahead. I'll go ahead and get in real quick. Obviously, this stuff is Claude Anderson is doing. This is not the news.
Hey, it's kind of low, Ray. You can speak up a little bit louder.
I took the AirPod out. You can hear me now?
Yeah, way better.
So the stuff that Claude Anderson's been saying, this is nothing new. But this is my theory. I believe, because of social media and he's been speaking out, there was something he said not too long ago that I heard him say about we need to, the civil rights laws, that we fought for in immigration and stuff, that was only supposed to be for us, and we can go ahead and sue everybody else that's trying to use it. I honestly think that's what's gotten everyone, so really mad at him and speaking out, saying all this craziness, because they know if we start, suing, then obviously they're gonna go back to where they come from, and they can't really leech off of us. So I'll land there.
All right, Ray. Thank you. Sean, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, there's a couple more points I want to say. People talk about Congress hasn't done anything. What has it done? Let's take a little step backwards. He's one man, first and foremost, and just imagine he been bringing alarm for 60 years now. Imagine Black America actually listened. Imagine the vast majority of us actually got behind who he is as a people of this nation. We didn't listen to him. What the hell else can he do? He did his part. We didn't listen. Now, this generation is starting this, hopefully they'll implement, just like the Back to South. People ain't, there's a key group of people that are listening, but we're getting a lot of unnecessary pushback and stuff like that concerning what it takes to build a power base for us in this country. And all these little smoke and mirrors about why you can't do this and why you can't do that. And yeah, it's the same type of thing happening all over again. People get people to come along that have a solid, clear message with a clear outline that can actually make some changes for our people. And they get pushed back and they don't get the support they need. And I'm seeing it play over and over. Same thing happened with our Dr. Claud Anderson. He did not get the proper amount of support. Like what happened in Detroit, we tried to get that set up out there. You had Black Americans, Kwame, whatever that guy's name is, they shut it down. And let's talk about Claud Anderson in regards to other Black people around the world. If they had took the time to read his books, he advocates Black Americans getting our stuff together here and actually setting up and helping out in the diaspora as well. He talks about that in his lectures, and if you go through his books, he talks about that too. You really talks about like how we can have our own leather factory where somewhere in the continent or in the diaspora they can produce it leather, we can sell it here and have some type of trade going back and forth. So they really understood his work. They understand that he's like any practical, pragmatic, strategic person. You got to focus on home first. Why not? Focus on home first. Black Americans, I like to use this analogy. Imagine three people coming into the emergency room. One needs critical support, life-saving surgery, needs to be in ICU. You got another one has a tummy ache. And you got another one got a splint. What they're essentially asking is, we're Black Americans, we need license, we need to go in ICU. What they're asking is for a person like Claud to prioritize a person who's Pepto-Bismol and a person who's a splinter removed over a person who's just about to die and is not getting the proper attention he needs. And that's where we're at in this country in this time. Black Americans need critical care, and anybody that's pragmatic is going to focus on that person first, and then we'll get to the other people. And they can't see that because they don't give a hot flying fuck about what happens to us in this country. We have to be hyper focused on ourselves. And really, the crazy part is, in the long run, if we're powerful, the rest of the diaspora is going to benefit like they always have. And they just so short sighted that they can't see that. If you can't help us, then step back and let us do our thing. Just don't get in our way. Because when we start snapping back, then all of a sudden we're xenophobic and all this and that. No, we're just trying to focus on us. All we're asking is stay out of the way. And some people are tired of asking. And I learned.
Okay, I see. I see what they just started a space, F. Claude Anderson space. Of course, Black Greatness 666. Make sure he tagged me so I can know that they actually started that space or whatever. So yeah, it's still I guess it's F. Claude Anderson. I said what I said or whatever. So they got one of those spaces going on. Still throwing dirt on his name, but appreciate that, Sean. Mel, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, thanks again. Really, I feel bad for feeling passionate about this. I really do. And so I'm going to try just to say this and really just get up off the whole stage because, I know someone do a whole lot of talking about it. But, here's the problem. And that is some people are so comfortable with the Tim Scott talking points. They're comfortable with what the fuck Tim Scott is saying and what all these other people are saying. And let's really take a look at Dr. Claud Anderson in his youth. And I'll say, when he was writing his books and the videos that we see him on, and even during that space, you can tell by the tone of his voice, the level of passion in his voice, he is not to be effed with. You can try to challenge him on whatever the hell he's saying, and you can tell him or say to him, prove it, and he will spit facts to your ass about whatever it is he's saying. People don't like that. And you know what? Too bad. So we need to keep on with the Dr. Claud. I think we need to do, and I'm just gonna say this part. However, just like how Judge Joe Brown is just every time you look up, he's on something. Well, he used to be in everybody's space. You see him out. That's what we need to start doing with Dr. Claud Anderson. So, Toter, there should be a space where you got him on here. I mean, we've got to continue to dispense a live talking Dr. Claud Anderson in order for this message to catch fire. Because this is, to me, from what I can tell, the books, when his books were fresh and new, whoever read them held all that shit to themselves. They didn't take his advice. So now that we got everybody up in arms and they're mad about it, maybe we can try again and this time actually implement a lot, or if not all, of the recommendations that Dr. Claud Anderson made in all of his books. I'm going to land right there.
All right. Thank you, Mel. Let me give a shout out real quick. Cognitive, thank you for your contribution on Cash App. Let me go ahead and get to Aunt Lai and Arinza. And guys, I am still going to touch up on it because I don't know if you guys, I know everybody's seen that actual video. If you hadn't seen the video, I know you've all seen the actual photos of the young brother, Keian Woods, whose face was just a mess, just almost beat half to death by the cops. So I want to touch up on that as well too. Of course, this is going to be this is a Dr. Claud Anderson space as well too, but I'd be remiss not to go ahead and speak on that. Being in Florida myself, and this taking place in Jacksonville, Florida, I got to go ahead and say something about that situation as well too. So, Aunt Lai, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Peace, Black Power, reparations. I want to agree with everything. I want to double down, stand my foot on everything that Trouble and everything that Sister Cruz said. Because facts are facts. Even talking about it honestly gets me upset, because the fact that people can be so ignorant to the point where it boils my blood. But I will say, we all wonder, when you know how they said this test showed that the crack babies, that it was those side effects. We are now seeing what the side effects of crack babies are. A person who would disrespect Claud, you got to be 100% fetal alcohol syndrome, and you got to be a crack baby. Because there's no way on God's green earth anybody in their right mind who mama raised them and taught them right from wrong, and who's a Black American, or who understand or respect or understood anything about the fight, will have any issue or any problem with anything that Mr. Claud Anderson said. It makes absolutely no sense unless, you know what I mean, while you was in fetal, you had a crackhead mama or some crackhead sperm. That's the only conclusion I could come up with to justify somebody even having a problem with somebody speaking facts or truth, and literally somebody putting their life on the line to fight for people. Is just that's just it. In regards to the quote unquote arrest, that was an assault, and the solution to the problem is people getting armed and taking out their pew and handling business. Now, in Montgomery, Birmingham, Alabama, when we saw what we did with the boats and the chairs, we need to do that when we see the people who quote unquote jobs is supposed to be, they need to be handled and dealt with accordingly. That's the only solution to the problem. Talking about it and us seeing it, no. Videotaping it is good to get that for evidence, but until we get some people actually stopping the threat, because what people have to understand is once it gets to the point where it's a threat, you have a right to defend yourself, and you have the right to defend somebody else. That's the only thing that's going to stop. That's the only thing that's going to stop them from doing what they do to us when they see us. Somebody actually seeing one of them and handling business. Until then, that's the solution. Ain't no, we don't care about the laws. We got to do what my brother Malachi Johnson did in Dallas. That has to be done on a whole nother level. That's what's the solution to the problem for that, because that wasn't an arrest. And he should have had somebody come to his defense, and the fact that he didn't, regardless of what crimes the person commit, what people have to understand, which I really don't think they do, is the police are not judge, jury, and executioner. Their quote unquote sole job is to get you to the police department. It is not to beat your ass. There's no way and no job, and the fact that they get away with it constantly, they need to be met with understanding that once they get this job and they see that their lives is really, you know what I mean, like you fear for your safety, fear for it for real. Let's make them, it should be a situation where they really should fear for it. And since they really don't fear for it, they continue to treat us and do us like that. Solution to the problem is they should really be in fear for their safety. And the only thing that I'm advocating for, like my brother Malcolm X said, is self-defense and self-preservation, which is common sense. It's not to harm anybody. No, it's to make sure that you go home at night and your brothers and your sisters go home at night. Because at the end of the day, we just taking ass whoopings and we talking about it. And I'm gonna dock my boat and throw my chair, but I get this space taken down.
All right. Thank you, Aunt Lai. Renzo, I'm going to get to you real quick. I want to touch up on this article. It's from Black Enterprise. It's up in the Jumbotron. It says, outrage over the violent arrest of Keian Woods spreads after video is released. This was actually the body cam footage following the release of a video depicting at least 3 Jacksonville police officers holding a 24-year-old Keian Woods down near a car. The man's family is calling for the officers to be held accountable. In the footage, Woods has a bloody face, swollen eyes, and a cut on his lip. As the video made the rounds on social media, outrage spread as the view count rose, and the Woods family retained civil rights attorney Harry Daniels to represent them. Daniels released a statement condemning the actions of the officer, saying that this video of the officer repeatedly assaulting Keian, slamming his head to the ground and tossing him around like a rag doll while he's handcuffed and defenseless isn't enough to convince you that these officers need to be off the streets. Just look at Keian's face. Daniels explained he looks like he just went 12 rounds with a professional boxer. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, and this is a black man, let me just repeat that, he is a black man, said in a press conference that the force used by his officers were appropriate, and even though it looked ugly, there was force used by arresting officers, and yes, that force is ugly, but the reality is that all force, all violence is ugly, Waters explained. But just because the force is ugly does not mean it's unlawful and contrary to the agency policy. Waters then said that the officers remain on the streets where they belong. In response to Waters' assertion, Daniels told ABC News, it's unfortunate that the sheriff believes a beating of an unarmed man is justified. Daniels added, it is obvious that he is complicit in an enabler of clear misconduct by his officers. It is not surprising that the sheriff's office didn't find any misconduct because they investigate themselves. The incident once again draws attention to the fact that Black people's negative experiences with law enforcement begin with traffic stop. A study in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences set forth that over 577 routine traffic stops, the first few minutes of a stop dictate how the encounter will go. Essentially, if an officer open up the encounter by issuing orders instead of explaining the reason for the stop, then the officer is going to escalate or make the encounter worse for the person who has been stopped. The group that conducted this study also analyzed the first 27 seconds of George Floyd's encounter with police in Minneapolis and found that even though Floyd was compliant, he only received commands and not answers to his questions. Jennifer Eberhardt, social psychologist at Stanford University, told NPR, we analyzed the first 27 seconds of Floyd's encounter with the police on that day, and we found that Floyd apologizes to the officers who stand outside his car window. Floyd requests the reasons for the stop. He pleads, he explains, he follows orders, he expresses fears. Eberhardt said, yet every response to Floyd is an order. In the 1 month study, the group study from found that officers pulled over Black drivers 577 times, but only pulled white drivers over 262 times, underscoring the racial disparities in how Black people are policed. Okay, I just wanted to get that out there so we can go ahead and let everybody know. If you have not heard up on that story, that's what's going on right now. And like I said, you need to actually see that video as well too, and just see exactly how this brother was treated. This is in Jacksonville, same place where we had the shooting of three unarmed Black people at the Dollar General about a month or so ago as well too. So all hell is breaking loose here in Florida. So just wanted to get that story out there, guys. I want to put it out there. So if you want to touch up on it during the space, you're allowed to go back and touch up on that, as well as Dr. Claud Anderson as well too. I know a lot of our people are here for Dr. Claud Anderson, but like I said, I'd be remiss not to go ahead and include that story in the actual space tonight as well too. Very important issue, guys. And that's up in the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side. Retweet that out as well too. Go ahead, Ariza, and then No Taxation. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. Hey, everybody. This is Arinza up in Anchorage, Alaska, by way of Tuskegee, Alabama. If you can, I need the link. I want to hear that space on why they hate on Dr. Claud Anderson. I remember him when I was, pretty young too, and he's pretty strong cat. He got a lot of people inspired and uplifted. So I kind of took that personally when I heard somebody say F. Claud Anderson. That's something you don't do. You don't do that. That's not right. But I want to hear that space. I want to hear what they have to say. Also, I'm real close to Newstoter on my breakthrough with the stuff that I'm working on. So if you guys want to see the stuff I'm doing, please follow me here on this platform, Twitter, also known as X. And as soon as it's released, I'm gonna give you guys the first dibs at it. It's unlike anything anybody in the world's ever seen. But I just wanted to say that everything else, I'm on point, I'm on code. Everything you guys are saying, I'm right there with you. And I'll be right there with you till I take my last breath on this crazy ass planet. And I'll land my plane there. Be one, everybody.
All right, Ariza, thank you. Let me go ahead and get to No Taxation. No Taxation, how you doing tonight?
My soul is tired. That's how I'm doing. Because I have to look, how many times do I have to look at these pictures? And how many times do I have to see these videos? I've been seeing them all my life. Let's talk about Florida for a minute. And hi, everybody in the room. Hope y'all are well and better than me. Let's not pretend that Florida is not the same place down there in Miami-Dade County, where they were using photographs of the black men that had been arrested down there in Miami as target practice. Their faces. You remember that news? Newstoter, you remember that?
Oh yeah, that's not only in Florida, but that's in a lot of places they be using that as police training.
Yep, Florida just got caught. Florida is also the place where they used to feed black.
Feed the babies to the gators, gator bait. Yeah.
Yeah, they were gator bait. Florida has not changed. It has not changed. Florida and Louisiana are two of the most corrupt, black-hating police departments in this country, and all of them have a problem. But those two right there, they are bastions for Klan boys. And maybe y'all don't know, but I do. Miami-Dade cops get sent not just down there in Miami. They get sent all over Florida, Alabama, sometimes Georgia, and sometimes Louisiana. They're hitmen. And so, and these places work together. And the bottom line is, the real bottom line is, we need to end qualified immunity for these people. The man, one of them police officers, killer cops, I call him, he done already killed somebody, a FAMU student, back in 2019. I hope y'all know that. And got away scot-free. He murdered him. So let's not pretend that this is anything new, because it's not. They've been doing it since time began. And if we don't end qualified immunity as part of a reparations package, as part of a mass incarcerations package, we just shouting it out to the sky. The bottom line is, individual cops who do this should not be able to have a union-backed guarantee that they'll get off. They shouldn't have it. And every single one of them need to carry their own insurance. And the community needs to say which insurance companies can insure them, because that will stop a lot of mess when they find out that it's going to hit them in their pocket. And that's something that's on the forefront. We've been fighting about it for years. Y'all got to get behind that, because otherwise this is what we're going to have to see. And we've been seeing, I know I've been seeing it for well over 60 plus years. And so it's time out for all this stuff. And that, when you get to be my age, your soul will be just as tired if you don't fight. You have to fight. And that don't just mean the people down in Florida. It means everybody in this country who is concerned about killer cops needs to understand that they cannot come into our community and kill us at random. They're not going to be able to do that. And we need to have that line in the sand. Dr. Claud Anderson, bless his heart. Yvette Carnell talked about Dr. A too. She sure did. She talked about him and his tilapia farms years ago. This was years ago. And she ended up having to take it back and apologize because there was such an uproar about it. So I don't understand why these people here think they can get away with it. We need to have an uproar. If you don't agree with Dr. Claud Anderson, that's one thing. It's okay. You can disagree with anybody you want to disagree with. This is still America. But to drag him for filth and say fuck him, after he is one of the few people in this country that moves the needle forward for black folks, that's unacceptable. And those people that did that, and I didn't hear it, I saw it, but I didn't go in there because I don't get down like that, and y'all know it. But those people that started that, those people that savored that, and those people that feel that way and think that way and act that way, they're dead weight. You have to get rid of them. They should not be allowed to have anything that you all have, ever. Anybody in this room that is in their right mind or their left mind. You just can't have anything to do with those people, because those people are going to be that way for the rest of their lives. They're ignorant. and they trying to get some shine and some light and all that kind of stuff. Just dead them because they're dead weight. You can't carry them if you want to go forward. You cannot. Yvette Carnell apologized because she realized that she had to close her mouth. She talked about everybody. And look at ADOS now. See, this is what happens when you cause a bunch of confusion. You end up confused. And so don't carry nothing that's not a lighter load. Because if you have to get up every day and go out there and fight white supremacy and racism and have microaggressions and all the other kind of stuff that you all talk about every day happen to you, why in the hell would you even entertain anybody for one single solitary minute with that kind of negativity? Why would you? It makes no sense. And whoever did it, they will eventually pay, just like Yvette Carnell paid. Because no good will ever come of it. And I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you, no taxation. I think some of our people, like Mel said, I think some of them came in there to actually, to counter what they were actually saying in those spaces. The only thing I say about going into space like that the people that's actually hosting it not gonna let you counter it, because once you start talking and saying stuff they don't want to hear, they're gonna mute that microphone on you. So you can go up there with the best of intentions to go ahead and actually provide scholarly details and everything else, sources and everything else that you want to, but deep down inside, those people are not going to let you say it. The minute you start making too much sense, they're going to go ahead and they're going to mute your microphone. You won't be able to get anything out. They're going to talk over you. They're going to be cursing and everything else. And, so you're just wasting your breath going into a space like that. Like I say, right now, they have another space going on, talk about Dr. Claud Anderson. I said what I said and this and that or whatever. So people, I'm telling you, the point in that space when Dr. Claude Anderson said, don't put anything in front of black, don't put Africa, don't put anything. That's the point that hit a lot of people tipping scales right there. A lot of people, when he said that and what he was saying in layman terms, is that, hey, we black, we gonna ride with being black Americans, and that pissed people off. When they heard that, people was like, okay, that's when the gloves started to come off. That's when people got upset. Everything, no matter what he said, no matter how truthful it was and this and that, and he wasn't disparaging Africa, anything like that. If you go to Africa and you ask the average Ethiopian, what is he? He's going to say he's an Ethiopian before he says he's an African. An Ethiopian, he's going to worry about the affairs of Ethiopia before he worries about the affairs of Nigeria, and vice versa. A Nigerian's going to worry about Nigeria before he worries about what's going on in the Sudan. That is, that people take up with their country politics. That's the way it is. Though they're going to say that they're actually a Somalian first before they say they're an African. They'll say they're African second after they say they're Somalian. So the fact of the matter that people are getting upset with this man whose family and bloodlines go back to the actual cotton fields in this country, for saying that, hey, you know what? We have been passed over for generations after generations. We're getting to the point where we don't have anything as is, and it is getting worse. What do we say? We own 1% out of 1.5 or something like that. And it's about it's going to get worse. So for the person to say, hey, you know what? We've been passed over for all these years. We want to focus on us. We want to build us up. And like Sean said, he never said anything about not doing business there. But the thing that I'll give you an example that's pretty basic. You got 2 kids. Okay, you're impoverished, you're poor. You just got enough to feed your 2 kids, and you have your next door neighbor who's all kids also hungry. Do you and you just got enough for your 2 kids? Do you go ahead and feed your next door neighbor kids first, or do you feed your kids first? And if anybody says, you know what, well, I just have enough of my kids, and I'm gonna go ahead and you don't have enough to share. I'm gonna break it down even that. You just barely got enough to put something in they bed. Matter of fact, you're gonna be able to feed them, but you going hungry tonight. You're not gonna have enough to feed yourself. Do you go ahead and do you feed your neighbor's kids, or do you feed your kids first? And it's just go ahead, no taxation.
Well, the other thing, just to tag on what you said, another thing that those people do is when you come in that room, even if you are giving a counterpoint, they do a screenshot and they send it all over the internet, and it looks like that you side with those people. See, they do a screenshot, but what they don't do is put up there what you said. So you really, Newstoter is right. You're wasting your time, and you're casting pearls before the swine. they're not going to be able to receive. Even if you are able to say anything, they can't receive that because they don't have the headspace for it. The vibration is too low. They can't go that high. It's low-hanging fruit. Eventually, what happens to low-hanging fruit is that it drops off the tree and rots. And so that's the next step. And so I would rather hear from the people to do a space and say why we should respect Claud Anderson, and y'all did that, and I can come up in there and get a review of stuff that I learned from a long time ago and say, oh yeah, he did do that. I remember when that happened. Oh yeah, I remember when he said that. Then to have y'all go up into them spaces and give them pearls to those jackasses up there, because I think I talked about jackasses in another space, and that's what those people are. They're just jackasses. That's what it is. It ain't nothing you can do with the jackass. That's an old-fashioned term. Go around and ask your grandma and your mama what that means. They'll tell you. And I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, thank you. And see, this is what I'm saying. People, they take stuff and they just sit up here and they twist it. Now, this person, Amira K. Horton sits up here, and Amira K. Horton says that she's talking about the space that's going on right now. And this is the lie right here. She says there are literally 4 Black Americans and 1 Jamaican in that space, but somehow you guys are blaming Africa again. It's so weird. When in the world did anybody in this space blame Africa? That's what I'm talking about. That's the lies right there. When did I say anything in this space about somebody blaming Africa? I said people got upset, which is true, when he started saying that he was that don't put anything over Black. He said that in the space. He's saying don't put Africa, anything else, don't African American. He said don't go by that name. And that's when a lot of people, because I was in the space for a good bit. I saw the comments and stuff like that. I've seen the comments since. But in this space, Amira, since you're lying, who in here said anything blaming Africa? Not one person in here said anything blaming Africa. This is how people go ahead and they twist stuff and they just start making up stuff right here. Nobody in this space said anything about no Africa, blaming Africa, this or that or whatever. So stop the nonsense. Like I said, people would just sit up here talking, it's so weird. Yeah, you know what's so weird is that you just came up and just made up a bold-faced lie. That's what's so weird. Nobody said anything, not me, any of the speakers, not the co-hosts. Nobody's blamed Africa for anything right here. But you sitting up here and you're going to go ahead and put this post out and lie. Sean, go ahead and unmute him. Whoever, PC, hold on, Sean, I'll let PC, since PC hadn't had a chance to speak. Definitely, if you want to speak, go ahead and raise your hand. But PC, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Go ahead, Sean.
You new to the stage. Go ahead, brother.
Go ahead.
Newstoter, can I say something right quick? I think on the post what she was talking about that wasn't necessarily this space. I think she was referencing the space that they're holding, talking about Claud Anderson. I think she's talking about the people in that space. I don't think she was talking about anybody on this stage. I think she's talking about the stage that they're on.
Well, she keeps talking about Black Americans. Why blame African when there's 4 Black Americans here and 1 Jamaican? So I don't even know what she's talking about. Like, there's nobody in the space is blaming anybody. Like always saying, and we're not saying, let's be for real, a lot of Pan-Africans are Black Americans. We didn't say, not one time we say, it was only African immigrants that got upset about that space. It was only people from the Caribbean that got upset. There are a lot of Black Americans and stuff like that that come up in these spaces and stuff right here that are Pan-Africans that probably got pissed off and got upset about that as well too. So we're not sitting up here trying to separate and say it was them niggas from over there in Africa that got upset. Nobody said that whatsoever.
No, I think she posted a screenshot of the other space that they're holding about Claud Anderson or whatever, and so I think she's referencing the 4 people on that stage, because there's more than 4 people on this stage over here. So she's referencing the 4 people on that stage, might be saying whatever it was that she just got to saying about the people in Africa. She might be referencing that stage or whatnot. But if she's in the space, I'd like for her to come to the mic and say what her thoughts is. But I think she's more referencing the other space. I don't think she's talking about anybody in here, because nobody said nothing about no damn Africa.
I know nobody in here said a thing about Africans, was disrespectful about Africans. Nobody said anything about Caribbeans, anything like that. Dr. Claude Anderson, he said nothing negative about Africans or Caribbeans or anybody else. He did talk about immigration and how it impacts Black people. I think we have enough data over the years to show you it does, and we've had spaces about the actual data as well too about the actual impact that illegal immigrants especially have on the unskilled Black male market right here in America. Like that can't be refuted. I mean, try as you may, it can't be refuted. Sean, go ahead and unmute your mic. PC, I know you was up here. I don't know if you want to speak, but we'll go to Sean.
Yeah, they don't care about the facts and figures because they simply don't care about what happens in this country. It's a parasitic relationship with people like that. And it's so evident. Myself being a person that considers himself Pan-African is very much ashamed and embarrassed. But I do know that the people on this app are just trolls and probably some type of psyop going on. I have real Pan-African friends that will denounce and kind of shun people like that are making this growth ruckus going on. They're pretty much putting a shame to those people. As far as these people in those rooms, I just block them all. I'm really paying attention to people that enable that type of behavior because you hang around in my book at this point, and they should get blocked too because why are you giving these people fuel? A lot of us have something to lose. Like myself, I do wellness checks, but I know how to go about doing stuff quietly for less blowback than people that I'm involved with or myself because this is what I grew up doing. Guys, between the lines, please. The level of disrespect that's continuing, I'm starting to get concerned it's going to spill off of this app because I got a couple OGs that I know from my own neighborhood that follow me. They're not even conscious. They're not even in this pro-Black stuff. They're not even in this reparations movement, but they made comments about what they see here, and it's getting kind of funky. It's like they don't play that. They really don't play disrespect. And that's what I'm concerned about. People think they anonymous and untouchable. You're really not. It's getting ugly. And what I'm worried about is somebody that has nothing to do with it getting blowback because people want to be on here acting stupid. And I'm going to try to go sit in the corner somewhere and cool down because I don't want to incriminate myself saying stuff online. But I'm just taking notes. And, yeah, this is getting ugly. And these people don't know what kind of fire they're playing with by being this disrespectful.
Well, Sean, I'll say this here, bro. Don't let them get you to the point, where it gets to that point. Like you say, these people on the app, a lot of them, they just talking. So I know sometimes we do get into an emotion. We go back and forth with these people on here, but don't even, you got more to worry about in the lose than trying to actually talk to some of these idiots, on this actual Twitter app, this X app or whatever the hell you want to call it. So don't even sweat it. Keep doing what you're doing and keep moving on. Just keep pushing on with it, man. Because I know sometimes they do just get underneath your skin and you're like, oh, and you realize that, hey, this is an actual app because a lot of the stuff that these dudes be saying in real life, they wouldn't be saying it to a man face to face. The fact of the matter that they behind an avatar and they probably hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, and just sitting up here talking and they got a bunch of people feeding them a bunch of nonsense and stuff like that. You have to kind of remember that as well too. So don't even feed into it. Like you said, when I see some of these spaces, that's why I rarely go into any spaces. I rarely go unless it's DJ space, Black majority, sometimes on the weekend, and a lot of times I'm busy on the weekend. I rarely go into many spaces, and if I do, I'm just sitting there, I'm quiet, I'm not talking anything like that because it's always something, and like you say, you got grown men sitting up here, all they do is screenshot people pictures and then post the damn thing. Like, you 30-year-old man up here, 40-year-old man, 50-year-old man, hell, 20. I could see if you was in your 20s doing it. Anybody 35 on up, sitting up here screenshotting other grown men, sitting up here running back and forth. And then the first thing to talk about somebody's an op or somebody's this or that or whatever. And you taking damn surveillance and you running back like a chatty patty telling every damn thing. I mean, are you serious? This is the extent of your life right here. This is all. I mean, this is what you're a grown man with kids and everything else, and this is all that you can do. I mean, come on, man. This is embarrassing right here. Like, I mean, this is something that Black men didn't used to do right here. Real talk. This is something Black men growing up in the 90s and stuff like that. This is stuff that we just didn't go back and do. Like if you had a one of those those little cameras that I used to take it, the Polaroid. That's like taking a Polaroid back in the day, flicking it on somebody and then running back and giving it to somebody like this. I mean, we didn't do this kind of stuff right here. I don't know what the hell this is going on right here. You got dudes sitting up here talking about somebody's an op and this and that or whatever, sitting up here taking screenshots and then posting it on social media. Like, and then sitting up here and want to sit up here and tell about how much women run their mouths and how much women gossip. Like, and you sit up here and you run your mouth and gossip more than any female that we know. I mean, are you serious here? See, we got Sister Stephanie up here. I see we got a bunch of people up in here, guys. Feel free for anybody that wants to come up here and talk as well, too. Like I said, we're talking about Dr. Claud Anderson and the disrespect that he has been getting since that Saturday space. We also talk about Lakeem Woods, the situation that happened in Jacksonville, Florida, where he just had his face completely beat in. You know, if you have not seen that video, please go ahead and check that video out. I have the actual article up in the Jumbotron. You can go ahead and retweet that out as well, too. For those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. For my people over there on YouTube, the the actual Cash App is on the screen. And the Venmo and PayPal is up in the description, guys. The Venmo and PayPal. If you don't have Cash App here on Twitter, that's also up in the actual Jumbotron. Also, the actual YouTube channel is up in there as well, too. If you're not following Newstoter on YouTube, up in the Jumbotron, you can find the YouTube channel in there. Please go ahead and click that and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, too. But once again, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. We definitely need the support of Black people. Like Dr. Claud Anderson says, Black business. That's something we got to go ahead and support. That's something we got to go ahead and do. Now, we need to start seriously, while we're talking about reparations as well, we need to start seriously looking into actual group economics as well, too. That is the one thing that we seem to be lagging behind. And with the price of inflation and everything that's going on in this country, eventually we will be phased and squeezed out if we don't start pulling our resources together. Let me go ahead and get to Sister Stephanie. Stephanie, how you doing?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
What's up?
I just want to say thank you I just wanted to say thank you for having this space. It's much needed. I think it's horrible at the way we disrespect our elders today. And it's just like you said, whether we agree with his analogy or not, this should not be any room for any type of disrespect. I don't care who it is. We respect everybody else's leaders. We respect everybody else's culture. But when you come here and you disrespect ours, I think the favor should be returned 3 times fold. Because we revere Dr. Claud Anderson. And if you're going to respect our leaders, I think we need to start disrespecting yours back. You know, and, two wrongs don't make a right. But how much more disrespect can we tolerate here? And as for that girl, Amira, she was addressing that to your space Newstoter. She thought you was bringing up Africans, which tells us that her comprehension is she needs to work on comprehension, because no one in the room even mentioned Africa. And she said she tagged somebody and told them that it's literally 4 Americans and 1 Jamaican, and please leave Africa out of this. Like, nobody's even thinking about Africa. We're sitting up here focusing on one thing. As for this guy with the 2 swollen eyes, somebody did a fact check on him and said it was a drug bust. I don't know if that's true or not, but he still did not deserve to get beat like that. And I think they're trying to take away from what the police did, and they deserve justice. And I'm talking about working in their favor as far as prison sentence, being put in the same prison that they arrested people in. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miss Stephanie. Rizza, I'm not sure. PC, I know you were up here. Did you want to speak, PC? Because you came up here. Did you want to say something? Okay. I don't know if PC is up here still. It look like he's disconnecting. So let me go ahead. I think you may have been next. If I messed up the order, I'm sorry, but go ahead, Well, hold on. Before I get to let me go ahead and get a newspaper. We got Truth to Power Media. Let me go get to them real quick, and I'll come back to you.
Peace. Thanks, Newstoter. Can you hear me? Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on tonight?
Damn, thanks, man. really wanted to touch on Dr. Claud Anderson. I was actually in their space, right? And so from what I observed, they were very disrespectful. Their content creation. So I think they did that to get some engagement. Because like I kind of frequent a lot of the different spaces around reparations or black political spaces. And they're one of the spaces I kind of tap in with here and there. And they never really get this much engagement. And so I'm thinking that they use that because I went to space and they actually were letting people up to defend their question. Now, a lot of the people, you can tell they really didn't study Dr. Claude like that. They let them run with the narrative that he only was like known for producing books. And I'm like, how can y'all not know that this man is actually known for being instrumental for the whole affirmative action? Like he wrote the bill from Florida, which ended up being the blueprint on a federal level. And so that alone, and then like I heard this example, and they addressed it too. They really was using him to get back at people who they felt were taking shots at their leaders or whatever. They said they brought up Marcus Garvey, how some people disrespecting him and a few other people. They were mad at some things that Dr. Claude Anderson had said on the stage that they really took out of context. And I think they knew that, but for engagement reasons, their content creators, they just let the narratives that they know are false go or whatever. And they were being real disrespectful with it, but they were speaking to people who, one, didn't really study Dr. Claude Anderson like that, and two, it was like an echo chamber to some degree of other, wannabe content creators who, want to capitalize off of all the attention that they're getting with these titles to their places that are really triggering to people who really got genuine love for Dr. Anderson. And so, but they did allow people to come here and talk. I came in and talked, and when I brought up the affirmative action thing, they kind of didn't have anything to say against it, so they kind of just wanted to brush over that and get back to the narrative of we didn't do nothing for the people, all we did was write books. And another thing that they said that was just a lie too, that he's an elitist who preaches bootstrapperism. And I'm like, this is not my notice study because I'm not an expert in power dynamics or none of that, but I know that he called for the government to do programs so that we can use those programs to pull ourselves up on the bootstrap. He didn't believe that you could save your way out of poverty or none of that they accused him of. And I'm like, damn, you didn't really have to study his works and get that. You could have walked over that type of stuff. Because those were the things on surface that he tells people about. And overall though, definitely disrespectful. But in my opinion, if you was somebody in there, right, who wasn't like already part of their team, who wasn't part of the echo chamber, you was just a genuine person who popped in the room because you saw the titles, you just wanted to hear more. And you could have walked away either one, learning some new things right in that space, or two, going back and doing your research based on all the different arguments you may have heard. It's gonna lead you to powerful information once you get to Dr. Claude. So they really kind of did him a good thing. To the buck, like they brought a certain conversation that needed to be had that wasn't being had at the time. So I still think that they were being disrespectful. What I'm saying, just to say the least. And briefly to touch on the John Brother who Jacksonville, man, just the pictures, man, the optics of that. It's like, damn, bro, you can't even say whatever he did, even if it was wrong, justify that type of beat. It's like, god damn, can't even resist. It's not enough resistance in the world to have to end up looking like that. But at the end of the day, we know what's going on, and until we're willing to do what we know has to be done, it's gonna keep happening. But that's all I want to know.
All right, appreciate that, brother. Up in the Jumbotron, I got the space for tomorrow night, guys. We're gonna be talking about BET bringing out Fat Joe, a man who's known for saying the N-word, dropping it left and right, basically told black people he's gonna keep doing it. They bringing him out for the BET Hip Hop Awards 2023. I believe this is gonna be the second time they trot Fat Joe out there. We're gonna be talking about ushers sporting a skirt. I don't know what's going on with the black men and some of the fashion that we got. We're also gonna be talking about the couple black female politicians, Jasmine Crockett, the one that was cutting a fool about Joe Biden and his family and everything else, and LaFonza Butler. So tomorrow night, definitely catch us as we're going to be delving in with actual entertainment and politics, mixing it in tomorrow night as well too. So that'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as always. The actual Newstoter Twitter Spaces, guys. So definitely, that's on the far left hand side. If you could go ahead and retweet that space out now, retweet that space out. Catch us for those that's available. Come on through. We'll record it as well too. So definitely come in for that space tomorrow night. And like I also said, guys, we do need that support for black people and the media as well too. We put out these stories, so we definitely need you guys' support. Even if you have $1 that you can contribute to the platform, not the Twitter space, but the actual platform, because Newstoter is its own black-owned Black American platform. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Any amount helps. Let me say that again. Any amount helps, and it definitely helps spread the content as well too. So $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest black-owned Black American news media curation platform today in America. Let me say it again. Newstoter is the largest black-owned Black American news media curation platform today in America. Newstoter, Newstoter. If you do not have Cash App, Venmo and PayPal is up in the Jumbotron as well too. Who was just speaking? We had Truth was just speaking. He am I. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
I just want to talk about the brother. I'm glad you said what you said.
Oh, that's cool. Go ahead.
There's no amount of force that's acceptable. That is not true. We need to know the law. We need to practice the law, and we need to know the law. And I'll say it one more time. We need to know the law. Because I believe I don't know if it was a sister or brother that said they are not judge, jury, and executioner. In the streets, they are. When they pull you over, they are. We have to know our rights at all times. It's unfortunate. When I was younger, I heard Sean B talking too. I was a hothead, and my grandfather told me, we can fight them in court. We can't fight them if you're dead. So you need to be able to understand, hey, you know what? I'm in a position. Don't give these suckers any reason, because the fact you moving is enough for them to call resisting arrest. The fact that you talking loud is enough for them to say, oh, he was arrogant. I didn't know. I was fearing for my life. These are the things they use against us. With the other thing I heard him say, Louisiana, about the racist cops, California ain't far behind. As a matter of fact, they switched these cops out. In the early 80s, we were getting a lot of Arkansas cops, big corn-fed suckers, and they were putting them in the black communities, trying to rough us up. They also had, what is that bastard's name? Braxton. He was over here trying to do the same thing before he went to New York with the stop and frisk, and we stopped that. That's why we voted him out, and then he went to New York and did what he did. What we need to do, truly, is family talking to each other from other states and letting them know, hey, you don't want that dude. You don't want this person, you don't want that person, because they do change and they can move from state to state. And nobody knows nothing about them. But we really need to know the law and how to deal with these people when they stop us on the streets. That's all I have to say. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thank you, Hiamai. Let me go ahead and get to Ariza, and the no taxation. I got you as well. I see my girl Rera's up here as well too. Anybody else that wants to speak, feel free. We're not gonna, I don't go too long, so we'll keep the space open for a little bit longer, and then we'll go ahead and we'll close it out. We try to get as many people up here as possible, but couple hours, a little bit more than that sometimes is really about the most I like to go ahead and really run. But sometimes we'll do 3 hours and some change or whatever, but definitely around that 2 hour mark or so. We definitely like to keep around that as much as possible. Rera, I'm gonna go ahead. Riz, I'm gonna get to you, but let me get to a new speaker. Let me get the sister Rera. What's going on?
Just real quick, Complex, fix your phone. I'm trying to bring you up, but I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ree.
Hey, thanks, Newstoter, for allowing me to speak.
I was actually a part of the team who was trying to get Dr. Claude Anderson in here, and we did so much within that week to try to make the space run good. In the end, Dr. Claude Anderson decided that he didn't want to take any questions, and he had I can't remember her name. I think it was either Rosie or Florence. I can't really remember her name, but she was pretty much asking all of the questions that we had presented to her. And you also have to understand, Dr. Claude Anderson is 90 years old. He's not trying to debate a bunch of dumbass people who don't even know his work. Like, I was just so upset, because I felt so honored to have him come and speak to us, and it was a lot. Like, at first he was saying that this might be his last speech, the last thing that he said to the community. And so I did go into the other space. And it was an echo chamber. People were telling them, oh, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. Oh, well, what has he done for me? There was a dude on stage who actually said he didn't do anything for me. This is not about you. This is about the people. Everybody in that space who came through to defend Dr. Claude Anderson had valid points. And, they tried to, plead his case or whatever. But, when you got negative people, they feed off of negativity. And so they would drop those people down and say, oh, whatever, he hasn't done nothing for us, And I'm like, if you haven't applied his work, that's your problem. That doesn't have anything to do with Dr. Claude Anderson. He laid the blueprint. You know what I mean? Powernomics is the blueprint. So if you don't know his work, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? And then it was the disrespect. I don't give a shit if you don't like Dr. Claude Anderson at all, but you don't disrespect our elder who came to this space being 90 years old to talk to his people. And I think that mainly they were mad because they weren't his people. And that's not his fault or ours. And we were actually trying to make sure that no crazy people were in space. We're constantly checking, but after you hit 1,000 people, you can't really see everyone. And so we were constantly checking the spaces to make sure there wasn't no trolls or whatever. But when he decided that he wasn't going to take questions, it was completely understandable to me because these dumbasses would have got on stage and would be trying to debate someone who is a scholar at this shit, who's been doing it for 60 years. They would sound stupid. And then on top of that, you wouldn't even take what he has to say. If he did say something, you would still try to find a way to rebut it. So,
Nope, we lost you at the end.
Oh, can you hear?
Try to talk now. Let me see.
Hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? And that's all about Dr. Claude Anderson. As far as the little dude who got beat up like that over a seatbelt violation, because that's what I.
Hey, Sister Rira,
Yeah.
you're going in and out. You're going in and out.
Yeah, Rira, you're gonna have to probably drop down and come right back up.
I'm driving, so I'll land. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Riza, go ahead and unmute your mic. Thank you, Rira.
Good morning. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arenza from Anchorage, Alaska. I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama. And I just wanted to let you know I found this space. Apparently there was two of them. One of them, I guess, ended and they created another one. And Big J from Kansas City, he even said, and I quote, that he doesn't mean what he say. He's just saying what he's saying just to create some kind of motion from us. I'm listening to it on the other channel, but I want everybody to know that Dr. Claude Anderson is not just, he's a revolution. Been on the side of Black empowerment. My parents loved him, and for anybody to say anything bad about a guy, it's wrong. So I just wanted to drop that and let you guys know. I will post the space on my Twitter, and just basically, it's just disrespectful to disrespect anybody who has always been fighting for Black people in this country. And I'll land my plane there. Be one, everybody.
All right, appreciate that, Ariza. Let me go ahead and get to no taxation, and like I say, we pretty much already know these spaces when people create these spaces, because DJ, what was that? Was that Friday night? Black Greatness put our name in the damn space. Talk about did Newstoter and DJ sell out? Like, oh, this joker tagged us in the space. He put our names in there and tagged us because I'm chilling. You know, it's Friday. You know, I ain't doing no spaces Friday. I mean, every so often we'll do a space Friday. I'm chilling or whatever. I see the little notification. I'm like, okay, notification. I'm looking to see. I think maybe somebody liked the post or retweeted the post. They left a comment. I looked up. You've been tagged in the post. And I see the space, and this joker he kept retweeting it so I could see it. Talk about first he had to about did at Newstoter sell out. Okay, I'm all right. I'm not paying this no attention. I know this dude want me to come up in the space, and next thing I know, I see did that Newstoter and that DJ Sag one sell out. I'm like, oh Lord, this the nigga space went by 30 minutes. I mean, if it went that long, so these people come up with these spaces and stuff like that. We've been tagged the past couple weeks since that Gabe space a couple times and stuff like that. So you know, hey, these the people that's tagging me in these spaces. I have never, ever, ever, ever been in these spaces before. Now they've been in my space and probably DJ space, but never have I been in these spaces and they tagging me. So it's like, okay, whatever. Matter of fact, Black Greatness 666, and I meant to call him because he was in this space for a second ago. When it started, he was in this space. Even after they started their space right there, he was in this space. And I meant to call him up here. So I mean, you're asking if I sold out, if DJ sold out, but you up in the space. I mean, make that make sense right there. You're asking if we sold out, but you up in the space. Why you got another space going on? I mean, really. No taxation. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
I almost forgot what I was going to say because Lorenzo came up here and said, by the way of Tuskegee, and I immediately went down memory lane. I got ran out of Tuskegee by the white boys. They didn't run me out of Tuskegee proper. They caught me on that road going from Montgomery to Tuskegee. There's one way in and one way out, and trees on both sides. So they had the flags in the back. You know how they put the flags in the back of the truck with the rifles and shotguns and all that kind of stuff. And so that was very, oh boy, I was glad. I had to hightail it up out there. I had to hurry up. I had a good car at the time, so Hal ran it. But yeah, Tuskegee is a different type of spot too. But here's the thing, Newstoter. It's like I was saying. They want the light. Somebody said content creators. They're not creating content. They're creating chaos. They're chaos inventors, creators. That's what they're doing because they're agents of chaos. And that's how they think they're going to get some light. And they believe that the more shit they talk about everybody, and the more they try to drag people and tell you you're wrong, and tell you what name you're supposed to call yourself, and talk about, don't talk about the Africans and all that old kind of shit. All that mess, it don't mean nothing. It really doesn't mean anything. It's non-productive and it's not going anywhere. And if we would spend as much time, or they would spend as much time, not we, if they would spend as much time directing that anger and all that vitriol to the white man who's in power, wherever they might be, maybe they'd be somewhere, but they're scared to go to the white man. That's why they firing bullets at us. They're scared of the white man. See? They're scared. Truthful. They're afraid to take up arms or to even take up a conversation with a white man, because they know they can get killed. So they come over here where they think we're harmless and all that old kind of stuff. But they don't know. It's people like, well, I ain't gonna name no names. But anyways, it's the people right here in this room that won't play that won't play the damn radio. Okay? They don't play at all. They don't play cards. They don't play sports. They don't play nothing. And they don't play that shit. And those are the soldiers that we really need. Them other people, they're non-productive, they're non-factors, they're dead weight. They ain't doing nothing, they ain't got nothing, they ain't nothing, and they ain't never gonna be nothing. And that's just what that is. They ain't been nowhere, they ain't seen nothing, they ain't got nothing, they ain't got no place to go, they don't go outside. They don't even probably take the trash out. You know. So you gotta understand who you're dealing with out here. You know, they dead weight and don't carry them because they too damn heavy. Kick them niggas off the wagon. Oops, excuse me. I'm gonna let it go because I know you over there on YouTube. I can't do no more. Bye.
You meant to say nah.
Hey, you ain't lying. Like I say, I wasn't about to go up in this place because, like I say, I already knew what they wanted anyway. So it was like, whatever. Sean, go ahead, unmute your mic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, we gotta get back to basics. You gotta earn the right to criticize somebody like Dr. Claud. You got to have that right. Oh, you got to earn that right. And nobody's earned that right. There's few people I can think of on one hand could remotely critique Dr. Claud Anderson's work in his life. Now, with that being said, you got somebody like that Pope Light that he can be criticized because what he did
off the jail for life.
Criticize work, that type of stuff. Now that's what we're saying. It's not like we're saying people that done stuff for the community or gods before me. We're saying, yeah, you can't critique their work and their character unless it's absolutely warranted, like with that guy I just mentioned. Anybody can critique him because it's warranted. But somebody that's got no smut on their record, you know what I mean? Anybody knows what that means. You don't get to criticize them. And like that's why I don't get this internet stuff. Man. It's like, dude, on the street, you get beat up for doing stuff like that. Like I said, I got a couple OGs that follow me. I ain't gonna say who they are. They not even in the conscious community. They don't know nothing about none of that stuff. But they're aware of who Dr. Claud Anderson is. They saw the disrespect and they ready to do some crazy because that's just how they roll. That's just the rules they operate by. And I'm like, yo, this is just getting a little too ugly. Niggas playing around, but this is getting really, really ugly. These people play by completely different set of rules, man. Y'all over here clowning and joking. Like DJ Quick said, this game you think is funny is some real shit. You better be more careful messing with. These people don't play, man. And there's other people, like, I ain't gonna say no names, they taking it personal that will come shitty about doing stuff like that. And you guys may not think it's that necessary, but you gotta realize what people's mindsets is. I got people sitting in jail right now that they did some stuff that I would never thought was necessary, but they did it. It's like when you really break down, like, dang, was it really worth all that? Well, you can't tell nobody what you think and believe, but when they think it's really worth all that, it goes down. You gonna be like, how did this happen? It go down like that. I don't think no internet fame, no amount of trolling, no amount of content creation is worth the fallout that what can happen if they keep this up. Like I said, I ain't capping. Some OGs is ready to roll, and I'm like, yo, this is getting ugly. This is getting really ugly. I'm starting to get concerned, and I'm ready.
All right, appreciate that, Sean. DJ, I know you had your hand up. You got it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, don't disrespect the elders ever because you already know jokers will smack fire out of you. You know what I mean? On that note, hold up. I see Sister Rira coming back up. There you go. You there, Sister Rira?
I just approved her, so she should be up here.
Hey, Complex, I don't know what's up with your phone, but hey, sister, if you up here, go ahead though.
She may have just came back up here, but go ahead and say what you. And then she wants to speak. She'll go ahead.
Everybody said the same thing. You know, I ain't got much to say on anything, but you know, the Keian Woods arrest. Hey, man, you know, it don't matter what we do. They gonna find a way to torment and torture us. You know, you got the white folks up here in the comments all day, every day. Oh, look what them knackers did. You know what I'm saying? Can't control your own people and all this other stuff. But your people do the same thing times 10. So it's like, why do we continue to be over here on platforms like Excellent, watching these jokers say bad stuff about our people when they do the exact same thing? So Joker earlier was talking about, such and such, such and such. They have yet to free the January 6th. Well, all y'all ass is about to go to jail. You know what I'm saying? You feel what I'm saying? For committing crimes. There you go, against the government. So, but our political prisoners that are Black Panthers and other activists and grassroots folks that went to jail in the 60s and the 70s, they went to jail for fighting for what's right. Y'all was fighting because y'all wanted to be right. You see what I'm saying? So all the laws we got in this country, you know what I mean? Civil rights, civil whatever it is. It's because of us Black folks and folks like Dr. Claud Anderson. So Keian Woods shouldn't have been beat like that, regardless of what he did. If he don't, you know, if he sold drugs or you had a legal gun on you, just lock him up, man. You already don't have him covered. Why that extra shit? Because they can. And we, you know, not to say we don't do anything about it. It's just because they can. So Therefore, meaning everything Dr. Claud has pretty much said to us, I know I've been working to try to do my best Polynomics impression, regardless of what Yvette Carnell said, because she wasn't right about everything, and nor is any one of us here. But so far, every time you turn around, Dr. Anderson has been proven right and right again, time and time again, almost prophesizing stuff, because he's been here before. So why is it that you got to allow not only some of our people, but from what I'm looking at, is really just a tether gang. You know what I'm saying? Tether. There you go, tether. You know what I mean? They're the main ones disrespecting the OG. So it's like, hey, close the border. I don't care if you want to vote Trump or not. No, don't vote Democrat. And, keep these folks up out our neighborhood, man. Black state is the way. And when them gang is getting paid, man, say one. You already know. Our numbers, man.
A real talk. See, Sister Rera's back up here. Go ahead, Rera. You got it.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. And yeah, the baby, the 18-year-old. I heard he was 18 years old. When I seen his mugshot,
He's actually 24.
24. Okay, so still the baby. He's still the baby, right? I mean, to me, I'm 41, so he's still the baby. It just was. I didn't want to watch the video, after I seen the mugshot, because I just don't think that anything warrants that. And it's just like, if you're gonna be a fucking pig, you don't expect people to ask you normal questions. We can't ask why we're being pulled over. We can't ask why we're being detained without breaking the law in some way. I seen a clip where they had a paralyzed dude from the waist down, dragged him out. He didn't even know, they didn't know he was really paralyzed. He had to prove it, and they still arrested him. And he's like, "What did I do?" And they're like, "We'll talk to you about it." Like, what are you? So what? I mean, are we just guilty because we black? Because that's what it's kind of looking like. You know what I mean? It's looking like we just guilty because we black. Granted, I haven't had any of those kind of police encounters. I had one, and it was kind of weird, but it didn't lead to violence. But my sister was brutally beaten by the police. She's a Pisces, so she got a slick mouth. And she was brutally beaten. She came home, and she had 2 black eyes, and I'm just like, this is the police? You know what I mean? We have to end that punitive immunity thing, because they are going to keep killing us. Everybody gets off on it. Everybody in America does. I don't know how people outside of America, but everybody who's anti-black, they get off on seeing us getting our asses kicked. They like it. And they're not going to stop unless we stop them. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that they're not just going to stop, because they haven't. It's been 400 years. Almost 5. You guys spent 500 fucking years to stop, and you haven't. To me, it looks like it picked up. They're like, "Oh, it's just because of the internet. You got the internet now." No, we've had the internet for about 15 years, and it's picking up. I'm seeing it more often, and I just can't keep watching it, because it's just like, I'm one person. What can I do? I want to do something. When I see shit like that, I want to do something. Like, immediately, I want to do something. Like, let's go have a powwow at this cop's house and just sleep over, start like making s'mores and shit, until his life is completely uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? If we can't be comfortable, then can't nobody be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And so that's that. I'm done with that. And Dr. Claud Anderson, I don't care what nobody says. He's a good guy. He has fought for us. He's never turned his back on us. One of the things that I take from him is when he said that working for Black people is the hardest thing he ever did, because we're so undivided. Because we're so divided. It's hard to put in work for the Black community, because we're so divided. You got half of them like right on, and then the other half of them like sit down. And so you get these. We're just so divided, and it's frustrating. It really, really is. It's frustrating. But we done added in these tethers, and now they feel like they have a place to speak. They can only speak on our race, because they don't have none. Nelson Mandela. What we gonna say? They don't even have any elders that we can talk about or make fun of, or they don't have any leaders. They don't have any revolutionaries out there. We can't talk about, but they can talk about ours. They think that they can talk about ours, because we're not family. It's not the same. It's not the same. You disrespecting an elder. I don't think they do that in Africa. I don't think that they disrespect their elders in Africa. I don't think that that's a thing. But they may be able to disrespect other people's elders, other tribes' elders. And so that's what's happening here. Them spaces are like literally just for clout. Okay, they had a fuck Dr. Anderson part 1, fuck Dr. Anderson part 2. What did Dr. Anderson do for the Black community? And now they're running a 4th space. They're trying to trigger us. I'm not going in. I don't have anything else to say because you don't have 3 spaces and you still don't have your answer. You're something's going on with your comprehension. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'll land there. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak, Ms. Toter.
All right. Thank you, Ree. You're right. You got to have that many different spaces. I mean, come on. How many does it really take? Trouble, go ahead. Unmute your mic.
So, at this point in time in history, Black folks should understand that we live in a system of where if you're Black, you are guilty until proven innocent. So when we say that, you know, we can't ask why we're being arrested, we can't, you know, question anybody, we can't have an attitude, we can't be smoking a cigarette when you roll up to our vehicle that you stopped us in, but we can't do anything that you deem worthy of a beat down because you had it in your mind to do a beat down before you even pulled us over. So we're living in that type of system. We are always going to be guilty, and we have to absolutely, without a doubt, be proven innocent, and that can only happen in their white court of law. And so if we get in front of their court of law, you still may not be proven innocent because your ass is Black and I am white, and I say so. You know, the system wasn't meant to protect those it wasn't created for, and it wasn't created for us. So when they holler about, you know, well, you're innocent until proven guilty, understand that that's for white folks. That's not for your Black ass at all, not a little bit. We have to get to a point, and I don't know what it's going to take for us to get to the point where we start going on the offensive. We've been on the defensive for so long, we don't know what going on the offensive means. You know, and we're scared to go on the offensive because we might catch a fade. You know, we got this incident that's happening with this young brother. And that isn't, unfortunately for me, maybe where I grew up at, I don't know about everybody else. I'm used to seeing stuff like that. It's been happening since I was a little girl. You know, I'm used to witnessing cops roll up, you know, on you, and you not doing anything other than they say do A, B, and C, and you ask the question. I got my head slammed up against the wall when I was 18 years old and ended up going to jail because the cops told me to take off my shoes before I entered into the cell, and I wanted to know why. I mean, I had just bought me a brand new pair of black suede BKs the day before with the purple rim. I thought I was fresh, and I want to know why you want my new shit. You know, everybody else got on some kind of shoes and socks. Why you want mine? But just because I asked the question, there was a group of cops that came running with a camera as this fool threw me up against the wall and bust my nose up against the wall, and it went to bleeding all over the place. And they wanted to record my reaction because my reaction wasn't that great after you slammed me up against the wall. The fight was on because I'm an alley cat, and that's what I know. Wow. You know, but that's how the system operates. That's how they do us. We have a young sister in Florida who was hung from a tree, and they saying that it's suicide. How many times have we seen this? I'm in the CAC. I've seen these stories plenty of times where we got somebody hanging from a tree, and the first thing they scream about is suicide. Well, where's the justice in that? Why? Because we have not yet went on the offensive. And when I say go on the offensive, I don't mean just start, you know, fucking random white people up. I mean, we could, but, you know, we've got to start not forgetting so easily. We forget so easily. This incident happened with this young brother. The incident happened with the young sister. And we're going to talk about it this week. We might talk about it next week. It might seep over into the third week, and then we forget about it again into the next incident. We need to stay up on that ass. We're not staying on their ass. We're not bringing it to the judicial system. We're not bringing that fire to them. When they asking us for our votes, we need to be bringing this fire, this energy that we keep for each other, we need to have for them. Why don't we have this energy for them? The time for us being scared is long gone. They murking us in broad daylight. In broad daylight. You forgetting. We some forgetful last month. We won't forget what a nigga said in a space last year. We won't forget to screenshot that shit and then pull it back up a year or two later. Oh, I remember when you said A, B, and C, because we ain't allowed to change our minds about some shit. We ain't allowed to feel differently about something. We ain't allowed to re-educate ourselves and learn something different, because remember 2 years ago in a space you said A, B, and C, but you didn't remember what that politician did 30 years ago to your people. You went out and voted for his ass again. And he told you to your face you wasn't black if you didn't. See, we got a short memory when it comes to these crackers, but we got a very vivid memory when it comes to each other, and that shit needs to stop. And we got to start learning to think for our own damn selves. You got to think for your own selves. Outside of whatever clique you roll with, whatever clique you with, everything somebody's saying ain't legit. And one thing I see on this app is that this group will take an issue with one particular brother or one particular sister, and anybody that one particular sister champions, like a Claud Anderson, everybody in that clique don't like them, and they gonna find a reason not to like them, and they want everybody else not to like them too. It ain't just the Africans and the Caribbeans. It's some of our own that be holding these spaces too. And when I'm listening to it, I'm thinking to myself, if this one particular person hadn't always been talking about this brother, if he wasn't always big enough in this brother, if his people that roll with his little clique wasn't always talking about how valuable this brother is to Black Americans, you all would have never had an issue with him. But because you don't rock with this brother over here, and he talks about Brother Claud Anderson, now y'all don't like it just because this person has always mentioned him. So anytime that person brings somebody up, you're going to sit back in your hater van and hate. You ain't getting paid to hate, though. You ain't coming up with no goddamn solutions either. But you sit on this app and you find a reason to hate because you want everybody else to feel that same hate that you have. You got a real reason. We got to learn to think for ourselves outside of the cliques that we roll with. It's cool to sit back and party and bullshit with mugs, but when it's really time to do some real things, you got to learn to think for yourself outside that clique that you have a good time with. Understand having a good time is having a good time, but when it's time to get serious and real about some shit, be real about your shit. Be real enough to say, I like you, but I don't respect what you just said, or you ain't even got to say it, just know in your heart that, you know what I'm saying? Don't even show up to a space like that. When I first came on this app, I used to space hop all the time because I wanted to know who everybody was, what they was talking about. I didn't know anybody from anybody. One thing that I did learn on this app from space hopping is I want to be neutral as much as I can, like a mug. Because it ain't about y'all's cliques. Because I like a little bit of everybody or certain one from all cliques. And it's a person here or two that rock with this clique or that clique that I'm not that fond of. But overall, everybody else is good people. You got to learn how to think for your goddamn self. And that's all I got to say. And I'm gonna lay it on that. We don't learn to think for ourselves. We're going to have motherfuckers thinking for us. So you better start thinking while it's still legal.
All righty. I can't disagree with anything you said on that point there, Trouble. So definitely shout out to you as well, too. So, yeah. That's why I say I pretty much, outside of a few spaces here and there, I pretty much don't go to a bunch of people's spaces just to be just to keep everything 100. We stay pretty much within our own. So, and I don't mind anybody that does go to people's spaces. Hey, do what you want to do. I used to attend spaces and stuff some, but that's something I definitely stopped doing. Rizza, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and let you get it in. Go ahead.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arenza Thigpen Jr. I just wanted to give you guys a shout out. I had a chance to really talk to the group that created that space called Fuck Claud Anderson. I feel so uncomfortable saying that. It hurts me to say that. I don't like that. But I have to say it because it was in the title. Anyway, Big J from Kansas City admits that he's doing it to annoy us, and he also said that he's ordering a book on Amazon, and when that time comes, he's gonna burn it in front of us. He's doing everything he can to annoy the inner clique that supports Dr. Claud Anderson. I just wanted to let you know, heads up, so you won't be surprised when it happens. But I did explain to him that when you have a man like Dr. Claud Anderson that's done so much, you have to honor not just him, but everybody. So if you got a problem with him, who do you have to replace Dr. Claud Anderson's accomplishments? Like, who can you talk about that you know that is just as good or better than Dr. Claud Anderson? And crickets. But it's okay because, like I said, it was basically his way of, he admits it, that he wanted to annoy all the supporters, including myself. So I just wanted to let you guys know ahead of time what to expect, because when that book gets there from Amazon.com, he's going to burn it and he's going to publicly do it. So just don't like it. But anyway, I just wanted to say my piece. Please follow me here on X, also known as Twitter. I got some provocative information that's coming out. I'm also the cat that speaks a number of languages. So anytime something's coming in from any other part of the world, I break it down and I throw it in the Twitter space. Newstoter, as always, thank you for having me on the space. Thank you for all the brothers and sisters that support me on the space. I'm in the lab working on some stuff right now, and hopefully I'll release it soon. And Newstoter is going to be the first ones to hear about it, as well as everybody who's following me here on Twitter. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate all you. I appreciate, if you're listening to my fucking voice, I appreciate you so much. You don't even know. And I'll land my plane there. Thank you, Newstoter.
Thank you, Reza. As always, appreciate you coming up in the space.
My name is.
No, not your name. The name you called out, or the person doing the space.
Yeah, so we could collectively block that ass. There you go.
Exactly.
Isn't it Big Juice or something like that?
Baby, not Big Juice, is it? Who is that?
Come
up with all kinds.
Not Julius Mourier. Oh, no. Just in my Twitter feed.
His name is Big Juice DJ. He need to go straight to damn prison. He got that name out the prison, baby.
I think it's Big Juice.
It's One Juice Laurent. That's his tag. One Juice Laurent. One Juice is spelled. It's the number one, and then it's JEICELAURENT.
Okay.
I've been all over his page and everything, so yeah, I don't give a fuck. Sorry, Newstoter.
Send it to me on the back end. I got to go here.
No, I think I already blocked that joke months ago, but whatever. Screenshot that.
I got it.
Post it in the purple chat, yo.
Let's put the word out, y'all. Let's put the word
Block
out.
gang, block party.
He can't get no light if he's blocked.
Block party, block party, block gang.
All right. I am. Did you want to? I know you came up here. Did you want to say something? I know you hadn't had a chance to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the space.
Oh, the other eye. My bad.
I was in the space. Period. I was up in there for a while because I like disrespect. I seen the space floating around, and I was kind of surprised and I was kind of shocked. Then to get in the space and then they be like, they ain't read the book, and then Steven got in there cooling. He was on his cool chill. His mo. He don't stop. Talking about Dr. Claud got a white daddy. A lot of stuff people don't really know, but that had nothing. I didn't care. I've been a follower of Dr. Claud Anderson for 20-something years. I got all these books. I've read all. So I stood in there. Space ended. And kept reiterating my piece. Period. Across the board. Folks are scared to come in there and everything. Listen, I ain't scared of y'all. Well, what's the name scared? I ain't scared of you niggas.
Well, we ain't scared. We just ain't trying to catch no cases.
Come on now. The disrespect is just out of control. And I was flabbergasted. I understand everybody has an opinion about people and everything else like that. But just to be outright disrespectful to that brother, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I came in for a little while. Came to space for a little while, and then I said, man, this is crazy. And I left. And I was like, you know what? Let me come back in because, so of course, I frequent their spaces. And so, they call me up and ask my opinion. It's not a problem. I'll give you my opinion. It's not a problem at all. Well, what did he do? And I let him know. I said it was because of, him. After reading his books is when I started my business. I didn't grow up with I'm the only person in my family who have a business on both sides, mom and dad. So I didn't have nobody to, teach me how to do it and get, between him and my uncle, that's how I'm in the place for them now, consciously. So, it's crazy to me. Like, I just, all day, it just bothered me, like, all day and all night. It's just so disrespectful. And they say, well, he's just the author. He's just the author. I said, so if that's the case, you graduated from high school, a couple of y'all in here said y'all in college, I guess your professors are just authors too. The people who wrote those books, I guess those are authors too. So you can see, to me, he's an educator. Because you can read his book and you're damn sure going to learn something. Believe that, every single one of them. I can read and still learn something. So it's just crazy to me. He didn't do nothing. Also, y'all not going to talk about, the affirmative action he did in Florida. Y'all not going to talk about that. Y'all not going to talk about the fish farm he had. Like, it's so many things. Like, it's, it's frustrating. But once I stayed in the room because I was trying to figure out what was going on here, So a lot of it was just because of things that he said, and they mad at the freedmen, and then also these are young people. What I'm saying? I'm Generation X. So in this room, you got millennials who never even heard it. You got some people in there was like, who's Yvette Carnell? This is this is our future, family. Gen Xers, this is our future. This is what we raised. So they asked my kids. I said, my kids know who Dr. Claud is. I said, absolutely. That's mandatory paradigms. It's mandatory reading in my household. What are you talking about? Each one teach one. But, we really have to take in consideration about our children and Gen Xers, now our grandchildren. We really, really have to put the knowledge that we have into them. Because these people are going to be taking care of us. We taking care of the boomers, they're going to be taking care of us. This is the future of Black America. And they're going to be pointing back to us. So that's how I look at it. So I'm a land there. I'm sorry, family. Excuse my language, Tony. My bad.
That's cool. I'm gonna get to a couple of this new speakers in here, guys. We're gonna go by 2 minutes. I see Black Greatness 666 is up in the space as well too. So I'm surprised about that, Black Greatness 666, because I know you said that we was you was questioning, you had a space Friday if we were sellouts as well. So I'm kind of surprised that you up in the space tonight, but okay, I see what it is. Let me go ahead real quick and get to Jay. Let me get to Jay Winfield, and then I'm gonna get to you. Label it. Also, guys, like I say, go ahead and definitely, for those that can, support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. We need the support of the Black grassroots as well too. $Newstoter. We got one person to donate to the night. Let's see if we can get a couple more before the space is out. Like I say, even if it's $1, any little amount counts. Go ahead, Jay Winfield.
Yeah, I just been confused, just these past couple of days of where all the disrespect is coming from, towards Dr. Claud Anderson. Going to towards what I am said, what he did. Not only did he, did something with affirmative action, but he also had like a black economic blueprint plan for Detroit, and actually got turned away by Kwame Kilpatrick because he felt like it was just too black, and what's up with all this black stuff. So he's actually trying to help the city of Detroit, and look at this state that Detroit is in. It's getting gentrified. They're kicking black people out there. He's actually done a lot. Especially in education, helping black kids, in special ed, trying to not get them in special ed, just a whole bunch of stuff. So I just be so confused why, a bunch of like weirdos, misfits want to just hold spaces and just kind of just, slander his name and stuff like that. Like, I get it. You don't got to agree with everything he says. You don't even got to like him. You don't got to do any of that stuff, but you can respect the dude, for the work he's put in for, the black community, specifically the black American community and things of that nature. So it's just like, at this point, it just seems like it's just trolling tactics. People just want to be trolling, trying to say things for engagement. And on another note, for them to say, oh, he just wrote some books and stuff like that, he's a nobody. And, it was some Pan-Africanists, peddling that kind of talking point. And my thing is, if you want to keep it a buck, you can say the same thing about Amos Wilson. You can say the same thing about John Henry Clark, Shahrazad Ali, Dr. Wilson. They wrote books. They ain't doing nothing. So you can put them all in that category, not just Dr. Clark Anderson. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's just crazy to me. Like, where's all that disrespect coming from? I just don't get it. But I'm going to just end it right there. I don't want to be over talking.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Let me give a shout out to Black Pressure. Black Pressure, thank you for your contribution on Cash App. As always, family, definitely appreciate that. Let me go ahead and get it to label it. Label it. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, peace. Like I say, man, the disrespect towards the doctor, right, is I'm mainly seeing it from the younger generation, and when I look at it, because I grew up knowing Dr. Claud Anderson work because of my elders, my grandparents and great grandparents, right? What I do know is that when it comes down to systems, he has been blackballed the majority of his career, and we even see these type of things with our athletes and things like that, But yeah, this young generation, these RBG sympathizers, these people are a problem because they're not understanding which part of the lineage, conversation that they're standing on. So they are like fence straddlers, because these people are viable and have always been. And these are the same forces that eventually sided with, one portion of the government, which is the Democratic Party. So when we look back on the historical aspects of it, from the civil rights movement and the 60s and the Panthers movement and all that, we understand where the infiltration and how it took place. Right? So now, we got a whole bunch of renegades, pretty much not necessarily fighting for a cause, but just fighting to be heard, to be seen, and a lot of these, unfortunately, these same systems have, kept the fathers outside of the home. And, now we're looking at, like, who raised these niggas? So to say that these little niggas is going to be, in some type of way, leaders of what we are going to be faced with here in the coming future, Nah, you know, because I myself, I have sons that are 23, 24 years old. Those are my oldest boys. You know, they know about Dr. Claud Anderson, his work, you know what I mean, when it comes down to research and economics into the black community, right? And what we try to implement. You know, my people know about, you know, his work concerning the black freedmen of these tribal nations. And, you know, like, a lot of it is miseducation, you know, of these young people. But if we look back at the Freedmen's Bureau Preservation Act, which became law in 1999 and 2000, right? The state of Florida, you know, was heavily involved in that because of Dr. Claud Anderson and his educational platform that he was wanting and desiring and needing to implement. You know, the information has been disaggregated since 99, 2000. You know, like there's a whole law. The Freedmen's.
Hey, label it. If you can't, go ahead and land your plane because we're gonna get ready to close the space out in a second.
Yeah, all right, but yeah, you know, this law was this, you know, this aggregation of the information. The information is there. It's been there. You know, and when we collectively take steps towards Dr. Claud Anderson's plan, the 5-point plan, which, like I said, I can speak back to the situation that happened in California with the Bruce Beach situation. There's so many things that tie into it. But yeah, bro, I'm gonna land. I ain't gonna hold y'all. So I'm gonna land.
All right, appreciate it. Trouble, I'm gonna get ready, guys, because I got to go ahead and run real quick. DJ's got a space tonight at 11, I believe he's starting it, so I got to go ahead and run, guys. But definitely check his space out. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't get back to your last two speakers, guys, but I definitely appreciate you tonight. So we'll be back tomorrow night, like I said, with that other space at 8 p.m. So definitely check us out and appreciate those that came in and spoke and tweeted out the space, liked it and everything else. Make sure you share the content. Thank you for the contribution on Cash App, guys, and we appreciate it. And we will see you guys tomorrow night. Peace, everybody. Have a good one.
Starting out right now. Peace, peace.